evening to one and all, and I hope you are all doing well. And you have listened to my previous lecture on Paradise Lost. That is the analysis part of where we have analyzed some of the conceptual um, notes of Paradise Lost, and also how to interpret the Paradise Lost as a text of that period to which Milton belongs. Okay, and it as a text that reflects um, his ideas of theological, political, as well as religious, okay, ideas, which establishes him as a very staunch Puritan in letter and spirit. And we have seen those points, and to the end of that lecture I have stopped discussing, just giving a few words on the what you call the style of Milton. Okay, the creation and the style. So we have discussed that Milton was thinking of writing such a poem like this Paradise Lost, which is an epic poem. For many years, for a decade or so, he was actually thinking of considering the idea of writing a poem regarding the fall of man. This is called as a biblical theme, which is addressing the fall of man, God, heaven, hell, etc. So, he nurtured an idea of naming it as Adam Unparadised. Okay, that is unparadised because Adam, we all know that God created Adam with his own hands, and later he created a woman for him, that is Eve, and both of them are left in the Garden of Eden. And we know how they were living in bliss. So they were in bliss, they were with God, enjoying the communion of God or fellowship of God, we have seen. So perhaps based on the theme that he is nurturing, he thought of naming it as Adam Unparadised. But somehow later he changed the idea, and then the genre was also a drama, a dramatic poem. He thought of a dramatic poem, but later he changed the idea of John as well as the name. Okay, so he named it as Paradise Lost, and he wrote it in the form of an epic. Okay, for reasons we may not be able to guess many, perhaps he was having one idea of creating a great poem in the English tradition. Or why only English tradition? We can say it is a great poem in the European tradition of literature or writing, because he himself um, proclaims in the poem that we have read lines, the book one, in the very beginning lines, he says that this is the theme that he is going to write about, which was unattempted even till now, till his time of writing, in either rhyme or prose. That is what he said. So that was a great intention. Milton actually cherished great intentions of becoming a great poet, and of course he wailed that he is not able to perform according to his merit in one of the sonnet, that is on arriving at the age of 18 or so. There is a sonnet where Milton wails that he was not able to write like great poets in other literatures. Okay, so Milton was always, has been cherishing this idea of writing a great work, and of course, in order to make it great, he maintained a grand style. Okay, so today's class, let us see from where he got the sources, and what was the style and what was the criticism that was received by Milton. See, Milton, as I told you earlier, drew his inspiration to write this Paradise Lost, an epic poem of human fall, the fall of man, as we have already discussed, and which is the theme, as Milton, the poet, proclaims. Of course, he is derived much source from, or he was inspired much from the Bible, which was the scripture, which was the book, the authentic book that is speaking of human fall, or the God's creation, hell, heaven, etc. So, no doubt that is the primary source for Milton, and it's believed that Milton is a very fluent reader, and of course, he might have by hearted many passages also of the Bible, not only in the English translation but also the Greek version of Bible, Hebrew, Latin. Especially, critics say that he was very much fluent in reading the Latin version of the Bible, which was translated by one important Latin writer, poet. I am not getting the name now, but that was the case. So Milton was a very fluent reader of Bible, and he always used to write and compare the scriptures from, and he used to analyze also. So that is why he has a very authentic voice when he wants to support either this or that idea of the Bible, as we have seen in his pamphlets also, and also his he's going on with the republicanism or Presbyterianism, which is like the Protestantism with the Anglican Church, etc., and later denying some of the laws that they wanted to made in the religious side among the churches. Of course, Milton did not accept. Perhaps it is due to the knowledge, the pedantic knowledge of the Bible that Milton has. So, in spite of Bible being one of the sources of inspiration for Milton, we have so many great epics in the European tradition. They are Virgil, Horace, Ovid. So these are, Virgil's Aeneid is a great epic. So Horace is also a great writer and critic. Ovid. Okay, so these writers actually have great influence on shaping the Milton's style, which we see in his book Paradise Lost. And besides this, Bible is the primary. The secondary are the writings of the great Greco-Latin writers, and then Greek tragedies of especially Euripides. So he read many tragedies, and we have seen in his autobiography, in his biography, Milton is a voracious reader. Okay, he used to read very much, and he gained much knowledge of Greek, Latin. Okay, so to some extent they say of Hebrew also. So because of those readings and those that working, Milton has made an attempt to incorporate all his knowledge of all the literature that he read in other languages in his book, the great life achievement that is the Paradise Lost. And then he also was influenced by the great writings of the Elizabethan period, as we have the writings of the masters of English language or literature during the Elizabethan period, that is Shakespeare, of course Marlowe, who are the great dramatists, and also Ben Jonson, who is also a dramatist. So Milton, of course, did not leave any source to improvise his style and to make a very complicated style, as some critics say, and some others praise it's a very grand style that Milton, of course, makes into this epic that is Paradise Lost. And besides this, he read many Italian and Neo-Latin literatures of high Renaissance. We know what is Renaissance. Renaissance is the rebirth of anything, culture, tradition, language, literature, etc. So we have seen our poetry paper starts with the Renaissance to the 18th century. So during the Renaissance prose and poetry in England, we have seen. But we know that this is borrowed, this idea of Renaissance is borrowed from Latin, that is Italy. So, of course, Milton read um, many of the books that were written during the high Renaissance period in Italy. In Latin literature also, he's having great influence. And further, he was inspired by the Christian epic tradition of Dante and Tasso in Italy. Divine Comedy. Okay, that is what is Dante's epic, which describes the heaven, hell, inferno. That is what he gives the name. Perhaps that is where from where the word infernal serpent, that is what we get in Paradise Lost. So Milton read many of the Latin masters also. And of course, Milton is very fluent in Latin, and that is why his style, imagination, language, and matured style is steeped in, of course, the Bible and also all these sources. Okay, the which I told you, of course, all other areas which Milton read. One more thing we have to, of course, remember when it comes to imagination. Of course, we should really praise Milton, because it is the height of imagination. In spite of the sources that he got, the way he describes the hell, okay, either the pit of the hell, or the height of the heavens, or say the suffering of fallen angels and how they have fallen, and also the war that is waged between God and Satan, that is Lucifer, etc. We of course can experience the visuals when you read actually each epic simile that we have already read in book 1. Okay, as we have already seen, each epic simile will give you a clear vision or picture of how the fallen angels are looking. Comparisons with heavily drawn comparisons. Milton tries to um, put the vision in our minds. It's a visionary. He is a visionary, and he, of course, though blind at the time of writing this Paradise Lost, might be visualizing everything. Of course, this is his imagination, the high quality of imagination that Milton, of course, has, and that is what he makes us. We actually take a dip in the imaginary, ocean. That is what is the epic Paradise Lost. And this imagination, of course, is the result of all his knowledge that he has in Latin classics, Greek classics, and of course English classics and the Bible. And he actually puts forth into one epic. One is the great work that is Paradise Lost. And it's Milton. Some critics believe that Milton has all the models of genre. He believes that Bible provides all the models for all genres for us. He finds in the genre of tragedy in the book of Job. Okay, the book of Job in the Bible is a great book, which, of course, you know, reveals us the life of a relentless believer who never defies God. Maybe we can take it a contradiction to Satan. In spite of all the suffering that God gives, Job will never turn away from God. Okay, so in the book of Job, we can see the uh, genre, the seed of the genre tragedy, because it's a very tragic life that Job has, okay, or goes through. If you read in the Bible, you will understand. At least a few verses, you will understand. And then it is lyric poetry. In Bible, we have the genre of lyric poetry in the form of the Psalms. Psalms we have, which in Telugu are Kirtanalu. If you read this chapter, you will find all small lyrics and some you know now and then big lyrics also, which are like songs only, which are like lyrics only. So the basis for the lyric genre we can, of course, found in the Bible itself. And of course, Milton, who is a very thorough reader of the Bible, could trace out all these genres in the Bible itself. And then we have epic, lastly, which is the form of the poetry which we read. This epic is there in the Old Testament, historical books of Old Testaments like Chronicles, Leviticus, Kings, etc. So there are these Milton, being the voracious reader of Bible and a very fluent reader of Bible, found all the sources of inspiration for his genre, for his style, for his theme in the Bible, along with the other sources that I have already mentioned. Okay. After this, okay, let us see. While say, actually, people say, the critics feel that this classics, the knowledge of classics and the contemporary literature at his time shaped his imagination and suggested him poetic forms and themes, okay, etc. Critics felt that Bible might have shaped his thinking on the very possible topic, that is the fall of man, and also his distinctive sense of prophecy. Okay, where we will find a prophetic kind of tone in the Paradise Lost. And then, so because he is a wide reader of Latin literature, it led to a very baroque, ornamented, idiomatic style of Paradise Lost. Baroque, ornamented, idiom, the syntactical flexibility of his verse. Baroque is actually a highly ornated style. Like you have our temple architecture, wherein you will have so many sculptures, okay, and a very intricate style of, a style. So Baroque is actually a style, a school of art that was brought into literature also to indicate the writing style, which is full of what we say ornamented, like with the figures of speech. How the literature is ornamented, we know that is through the figures of speech. The metaphors, the similes that we find in reading the Paradise Lost. In every line, it's every line, of course, we have read only book one, but out of that book one itself, we can guess the very complicated style of Milton, where you get metaphor or simile in alternate lines. Okay, and actually, he this ornate style, his style is very complex also. I'll be discussing that. But what, in spite of all his what you call greatness as the epic poet, Milton is considered inferior to Shakespeare in English literature. The reason is obvious, because we have read the poems, sonnets of Shakespeare, and now the epic of Milton. Only thing you can notice is, of course, there is no comparison in writing sonnets and epic, but you have dramas of Shakespeare. Okay, so dramas, one of the critics, that is Johnson, I think he says that Shakespeare's writing is like a forest. It is not like an artificial garden, okay, that is developed or planned and developed. So that means very natural. And some critics feel that Milton's style, in spite of his what do you call difficulty, ornamentation, and grand style, okay, is to some extent very artificial, and it is cultivated, not so natural. So it is believed that Shakespeare is not an educated person, not much educated. Okay, he never went to a university or nothing. And of course, though Shakespeare also is blamed or in a way criticized for borrowing much from Spanish tragedy, okay, Thomas Kitts' Spanish tragedy and other historical sources, etc. Yet somehow you will feel that Shakespeare is a very natural writer when compared to Milton, and that is the what do you say, criticism, because perhaps it is because in the beginning of the 18th century or so, or to the later years of this 18th century, we have Samuel Johnson, who actually wrote not wrote a preface to Shakespeare and published a whole compendium of his total works. Okay, he edited and he published all collective works of Shakespeare with a preface, a wonderful preface to establish Shakespeare as a natural writer. Okay, a very great writer, and also who writes with a kind of ease, not as if he's what do you call revising and then learning and putting it into an artificial manner, writing it in an artificial manner. So I think the preface to Shakespeare is prescribed for your study, perhaps in your prose paper. If you have gone through that, you will understand what the merits or demerits of Shakespeare according to Johnson. Perhaps in the history, Johnson, who's a very gigantic personality or imposing personality during that time, might have established the greatness of Shakespeare in such a manner. And that might be one reason of course, many have considered Shakespeare as natural, and Shakespeare remains the greatest, and Milton is only secondary. And in the 18th century, of course, criticism actually, the criticism against Milton, his Baroque style, his grand style, and difficult style, very complex, and so many Latin syntax and Latin words also he keeps using in his poetry, was criticized immediately after his death. That was there in the 18th century itself, in the beginning of 18th century. And in the later, in the 20th century, this became even more when T.S. Eliot, one of the important or popular poets and critics of English literature of 20th century, early 20th century, criticized him. Okay, and also F.R. Lewis, another popular critic of English, they both have criticized Milton for many things. Eliot, of course, stated that you know Milton wrote in a very difficult style that, of course, ruined the future of his followers. Okay, so then the style is very unnatural. That is what Eliot says. Uh, though Milton is a great personality, Eliot says that it is a very unnatural style. And then C.S. Lewis and William Emerson, of course, after them, defended Milton. Okay. And then they named that this is not unnatural, but it's a very grand style. See how many contradictory statements are there. Whatever are the statements, we have to mention about this style. It is considered as a very difficult, unnatural style, complex style. At the same time, it is considered as a great, grand style. Okay. However, grand style, of course, some critics feel that whether it is unnatural or not is a different question, but it's a very ornated, difficult, complex style, and some critics feel that it is because of the theme that he is handling, and also because of the loftiness of his genre, that is epic. Epic poem requires that style, and we all know Shakespeare didn't write epic. Okay, so here some critics say that whatever be the complexity of Milton's style, and whatever be the Baroque style or ornated style or grand style, it is only the result of the genre which he has handled. Okay, so which Milton handled, that is why his style was like that. It is to justify that Milton is a great writer. And then pick scholars who praise Milton's style praised that Milton's style is a combination of idiom, musicality, and elegance of Spenser, Shakespeare, and Johnson. See, Spenser is known for his idiomatic expressions. Shakespeare is known for his musicality, as we have seen in the sonnets. And elegance is, Johnson is very much known for his elegant way of writing. And so, all these combined we'll find in the style of Milton. And of course, it is filled with Latinate, okay, expressions, and also Italianate and Hebraic constructions. Italy and Latin, and then Hebraic construction. Neo-Latin expressions, and Old Latin, that is Italian, and then Hebraic constructions will be found in the style of Milton. And coming to the meter, of course, when we are talking of a poem, we'll actually speak of the meter. The meter of Paradise Lost is iambic blank verse. It is called blank verse because unrhyming verse. Because in sonnets, while reading sonnets, we have seen the rhyme scheme, for the sonnets. Of course, but Milton wrote his epic poem without any rhyme scheme. That is why it is called as iambic blank verse. Because Milton, of course, denied to follow the past traditions. Okay, and he intentionally wrote his poem in blank verse, and that he himself stated in a preface that is written to in the Paradise Lost published in 1668, which was published in 1668, and he wrote that the the verse in English, heroic verse without rhyme, and he intended to write without heroic rhyme, heroic verse without rhyme. He wanted to free English poetry from the bondage of rhyme. So this is in a way scholars feel that his passion for liberty. Okay, and he wanted to free the English poetry from the bondage of rhyme. That's what he said. And while his contemporary, one of the great essayists also, John Dryden, who kept on writing in the heroic couplet and as well as the iambic, John Dryden actually wrote in rhymed stanzas and also heroic couplet. Uh, he was also the contemporary of Milton. While his contemporary wrote in the rhyme, Milton, of course, had broken that, and he intentionally declared that he is doing it intentionally to free English poetry from the bondage of rhyme. He felt that rhyme is not so necessary. Okay. His deviation from the regular way of writing poetry itself shows the rebellious spirit of Milton, and his always his passion for freedom. Okay, and also his uh, passion for the new forms and liberty that we can see. Coming to the syntax, of course, he maintains is a very complex syntax. Okay, that he wrote in Latin complex syntaxes, which comprises of many subordinating clauses and with the main verb which is successfully hold until the end of the long sentence. For example, long sentences are these example for the Latin syntactical style. Okay, that long example we'll find in the very beginning of the poem, that is from 1 to 16 lines of Paradise Lost Book 1. If you go back and read that, is one sentence. And the main verb there is sing. Okay, sing, muse, that is what he says. So if you go back and read again from 1 to 16 lines, you will understand how much complex sentences Milton wrote. This is actually the Latinate style of syntactical construction, which the sentences will have subordinate clauses, many subordinate clauses, and the main verb is kept in hold till to the last, to the ending of the sentence. That is how he wrote. That is only one example I am giving you. If we refer to the text, we will find more examples of his complex syntactic style. Okay. Uh, and of course, another important literary device we should make a note of is epic simile. This actually I kept on referring while I was explaining the text of the Paradise Lost Book 1. So for you, it is to go back to this text and find out at least a few epic similes where Milton, describing fallen angels, describing the monastrous personality of Saturn, okay, and also some fallen angels becoming gods, etc. So this list is there, no? So in say nearly 800 lines or so of the book 1, I have pointed out many epic similes. So try to make a note of at least 4, 5 epic similes which are very important in their context, and also known for their description and complex structure also, so that you can guess uh, the complexity or the suitability of the epic simile that is incorporated by Milton, and how from what to what he connects. The fallen angels are compared to so many the army of Pharaoh. Okay, so they like that he actually takes a dip from the theological texts of Christianity into the heathen worlds, etc. So many things are connected. So, I just want you to go back to the text and work out on the epic similes, because this will be a question for you, either a short answer question or an essay question also, because to bring out so what is an epic simile, and give illustrations or give examples from the prescribed poem or prescribed text for you, like that they may ask, or epic simile simply will be given in the short answer question. So an epic simile is nothing but a simile which is a very descriptive simile which is used in epic, and this is one of the epic conventions also. Okay, so this is what I have to discuss in this class, that is the complex style of Milton. And I have a few more things that I should analyze regarding the Milton's Paradise Lost, especially with reference to book one. I hope you will keep listening to the lectures. Okay, we'll meet again. Have a nice time. Bye. Take care.